Win up to £25,000. The Community Lottery, a subscription-based lottery that allows you to continue to support good causes that matter. When you win, good causes win. Every month, eligible good causes have the opportunity to win a share of funds that could help them continue the good work that they do in our communities. To apply, there's no complicated forms, nor do you have to be a registered charity. Just grab your phone, send us a 60-second video explaining your good cause and the difference having extra funding would make to your project. Visit thecommunitylottery.com. Hit the play button and sign up for either 13 weekly draws or by direct debit for just £4.35 that gives you 4 weekly draws. You could have the chance of winning £25,000. The aim of the Community Lottery is to create an additional source of funding that will enable good causes to undertake innovative projects that matter. If you're in, the communities win.
Ready? You got me running, got me running. Shake it, shake it, shake it, baby. Raise your hands up. Raise them up.
Good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome to a very, very special edition of the After Dark Show. This is the After Dark Show Extra, because we felt that it was only right that we jump on and have this discussion about the Meghan and Harry scandal, as it were. We will be talking about the Duke, and the Duchess of Suffolk, as it's been all over social media, TV. It's been a worldwide story, and it's about relationships. And so we had to cover it this evening. I really had to cover it this evening. So I want to welcome everyone, those of you who are on Facebook, those of you who are on YouTube, those of you on MediaNet Live TV. I want to say good evening for this impromptu edition. We will still be here tomorrow at 10 till midnight. We've got an extra special show for you tomorrow night for International Women's Day, International Week, International Month of the Woman. We're answering some real hardcore questions tomorrow from the men's perspective. So it's a little bit different tomorrow. But today we are talking about the relationship between the royals. Is it even worth talking about? Does anyone really care? I don't know, but I tell you what, we need to know from our community, because the one thing we have to recognise is that Meghan Markle, or the Duchess of Suffolk, is a woman of dual heritage. Therefore, she is half black and half white. And so there are so many things that have been brought up in conversation over the last few weeks, years even. And so today we want to crash, we want to talk, we want to expand on what is going on from the perspective of the African Caribbean diaspora, which is her heritage. She's got African American lineage, and so therefore we are going to talk about it. So my name is Yvonne Michelle from YvonneMichelle.com. I am the host of the After Dark Show, and tonight I'm going to bring in some panel members. So I'm just going to ask for the panel members to come in the room, because I always have people here to have a discussion, open and frank discussion with. So I'm just going to bring in the yes. Hello. Hi, Michelle. How are you?
I'm blessed. How are you?
wonderful. I'm wonderful. Thank you for joining us this evening. Who else do we have in the green room? We have Lolly. I can see Lolly coming up. And Sheena. Hi, Sheena.
Hi,
Hi.
good evening.
Good evening. We've got an all-female panel tonight. Is it all-female? No, we've got Kels. Hi,
I'm here.
Kels.
I'm here.
Yeah.
Representing.
You're representing the men. All right. Do we have anyone else in the green room? I know that I was expecting there's a few more coming in, but you know what? We're good. We're going to work with what we've got, and when they come in, as this is a special impromptu show. Now, guys, you would have heard, if you have not heard about the scandal, Meghan Markle, Prince Harry, the Queen, Piers Morgan, all of these things going on. If you haven't heard about it, you have been living under a rock, because there's just no way that you could not have heard about this story. So I want to welcome you to the After Dark show. Michelle is a new person on our show, so I want to give her a special welcome and thank her for coming on today. So we're talking about Meghan Markle. So today, earlier on today, I watched the show that you would have just watched, and I watched it again. And I have to say that my disappointment in how it's been received, I have to say that from my own perspective, I recognise that we don't all think the same. And we're all coming from different perspectives because we've all lived different lives. But I think today has shown, I think, even looking on Twitter, looking on Facebook, looking on the comments from people you would least expect to have the opinion that they have. This conversation here is a bit like Brexit. It's going to be one of those conversations where you fall out with family members. It's actually like the vaccine as well. We're having a lot of conversations like that where family members are actually falling out over this, and over the overall message that is coming out. So tonight, listen, I've made some copious notes here about this. So my first thing I want to say, first and foremost, there was a statement just at the beginning of the show. You would have seen it come up, that said something. It was from Mind, and how disappointed and disgusted they were at the comments from Piers Morgan today on the morning breakfast show. And I have to say, I'm absolutely disgusted by what he has said, and the amount of empathy, which is actually zero, that he has shown for Meghan. We know that he has had it in for Meghan from day one. He's never liked Meghan, never really had anything good to say about her. But at the end of the day, we're talking about mental health, we're talking about suicidal thoughts, and he's like, fobbing it off like it's nothing, just to prove a point and act like a 10-year-old boy throwing toys out of a pram. So I'm going to start there, and then we're going to work our way, because I don't want to give Piers too much props, because I just think that that's how he is, and that's the way that he gets noticed, is by saying these outlandish things and being a bit of a prat, really. Yeah, I did say that. Yeah, maybe that wasn't professional, but it's the truth. Anyway, so we're going to move on. So Meghan has stated that she felt alone, very isolated, and there was a time when she had suicidal thoughts, and she felt that it was appropriate and the best thing to do was to tell her husband, which I can only agree with her for doing so. We don't want to keep those kinds of secrets. But from your perspective, and then we're going to go into some of the comments from people who are messaging in. Panel, what do you think of the conversations that you've come across today on this subject? What are the subjects, or what are your thoughts, should I say? Who wants to go first and make a comment? I think there's a bit of a delay as well. Go, Kels.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, like you said, I know you don't really want to touch on Piers Morgan, so I'm not going to really talk about him so much. It's Trish that used to do that TV presenter. I
Mm-hmm.
thought she did really well today.
She did.
I've never really thought much of her in the past. I don't know, maybe because she won't weave all the time. I'm just joking. Just from last week's show. No, I'm just joking there. No, she basically kept calm. Her use of language was great, and she just really pointed out that what Piers was thinking or how he was conducting himself was totally foolishness, and we could all see it. Shola was very hyped up because there was two interviews I think Piers did today, and Shola really did lay into Piers, rightly so. Um, I sometimes love Piers and sometimes I loathe him, and today was that time to loathe him. But I think the British public are what they're seeing. They definitely are talking. It's now the highlight. It makes you wonder though if this is a distraction to what's really going on, because there's so much more serious things really happening that we need to really deal with. I think if we go into talk about Meg, then let's also talk about Andrew. Let's also talk about Camilla as well. The royal family. If we're gonna have this discussion, let's have it properly. So yeah, I thought that what I saw today was totally gobsmacked, and myself and Yvonne, we talked a bit on social networks today, and just agreeing that what we saw today was just ridiculous. With some comments that were made, but at the same time, some people have made some really great comments. So yeah, I think that's what I'll say. That's what I'll say for now.
Thank you for that, Kels. Because yeah, Andrew is coming up in the conversation. He has to come up in the conversation because it's been too quiet. This whole thing, yeah,
Yeah.
too quiet. Okay, okay. So Michelle, I'm gonna bring you in. What are your thoughts?
Well, I saw part of the interview with Piers Morgan because, like most of us, I suppose, I don't really give him much of my time. I saw the part with Trisha and Shaka Khan, and it was really quite interesting. I think if we go back and look at that clip and we turn down the volume and we can see him doing his thing that he does, and then you see the reactions of the four panelists. The reactions from Shaka Khan and Trisha were the same.
Mm.
The other two were quite motionless.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that Trisha did take him to task to an extent. However, some of us also saw his interview with her, and that was absolutely appalling as well. And why her team let her do that, I have no idea. But Piers is just doing what Piers does. I don't think that we need to give him much airtime or kudos to what he says, but he's popular. And the reason why he's popular is probably because many people agree with him deep down and they just have him as their mouthpiece. We all know what it's like to live through the types of things that she has lived through, but we don't do it in the public eye. But we know what it's like to feel alone, to feel that there's nobody in our corner, to not be able to trust those around us. We know what that's like when we're in the corporate world or any other world. And it's just been played out for everyone else to see and for many people to still deny.
Thank you very much for that, Michelle. When we say we're talking about she, we mean we are talking about the Duchess of Suffolk. It's Sussex, isn't it? I keep saying Suffolk, but it's Sussex. And Meghan Markle. We are talking about her and what she's experienced. She's left a statement on the Oprah Winfrey own show. She said she felt lonely, she felt alone and very isolated, and that was one of the reasons which ignited her mental health. And so yes, Totally agree with you there, Michelle. When you talk about Piers Morgan, he does what he does. It is for whatever reason. Somebody put on he's trying to get a knighthood. I think it was Carl Perkins, and I actually agree with you, Carl, because I think that it costs nothing to be kind, and he has had a vendetta against Meghan for a very, very long time, since the beginning. And just so those of you who saw, I wish we had some clips to show you, but it would just take up too much time and give him too much props. But there was a clip where he showed all the tabloid papers and saying how they welcomed Meghan into the British society. But and that was just before the wedding. So what he neglected to do was to show all the press coverage from before and all the press coverage after. It was just one small segment of the thing that she's been living through, and say, yeah, hey, look at this, but yet still neglecting to look at all of the other stuff that she has lived through. And now she's pregnant again, and the question, I'm going to be jumping from different bits of what we saw, but on the interview we did see, and I'm going to go to this because I think this was a disgraceful thing that happened, but there was a conversation that Harry had with members of the royal family, and they were showing concerns as to the complexion of his forthcoming child. And let me just say this, Piers thought that was okay. I want to ask every panel member on here, those that are on here, is that acceptable to you? Because I'm not going to say how it is for me, but I want to know, is it acceptable for you if somebody was to come up and say to you, whether you're in a mixed race relationship or fully same race relationship, what do you reckon the complexion of your child's going to be? Would you be offended or not? Kels?
I'm absolutely shocked when I when I saw that. I'm not one, as you know, Yvonne, I'm not one to be speechless, but that one has just knocked me out for 6. I have to thank Harry because he's the one that brought to light about mental health, the whole issue of it. I wouldn't have known mental health was that serious unless Harry came out and said that he went through a very hard time with how they treated his mum and also the press, and then to realize then who really is going through this mental illness issue, which is really his family. That is a mental ill discussion to have. What's wrong with your head to be asking how dark is your son going to be? I mean, like, what do you do with that? He's highlighted that mental health is across the board, especially with our people, with what the trauma that we've been through, for the past 400 years, which they have no sympathy for. They wouldn't be able to even empathize with what we've been through. But the sick behavior of the way how they've treated us, and they think that it's okay, and then for him to hear a discussion of how dark he's going to be, it just shows you that the family, I come from a history of barbarians. It's a very, very barbaric attitude, and it is barbaric. That's the roots of it. Yeah, we're not going to have a history lesson. That's a very disgusting. I'm speechless. I over to you, Michelle. And Michelle, nice meeting you. You and I banter inside Facebook all the time. So I hand over to you. But yeah, I'm totally, yeah. What do you have to say, Michelle? Please talk to me.
Well, I think that in terms of the colouring of the baby, I think that we have to be realistic, and sometimes we do have family members, we've heard older people in generations saying, I wonder what the baby's kind of come out like in our own families. However, this is a different situation here. And I think given the other factors that were involved, as Meghan said, there were other things happening. So they were having conversations about the security. They were having conversations about whether or not the baby coming would have a title. And it seems that their title as Duke and Duchess of Sussex, from what I understand, was chosen so that their children wouldn't have titles. Now, why? You know, why? This is the problem. So with that on top of everything else, and then I think Harry most probably was just so shocked at the whole situation that he went and confided in his wife, this is what they're saying. And he was saying that he didn't know much about unconscious bias. Well, you know, we can debate that another time. But he brought this to her and she instantly knew what it was about. And to know that you're living in that and you've got no way of escaping if you want to be with this man that you truly love, must have been a terrible situation for them. And at the end of the day, that baby was made out of love. And that's how that baby should have been received. No matter what colour the baby comes out, it shouldn't matter. And it's a real shame. But, you know, they really spilt the tea. They spilt the whole tea factory right now.
Yeah, the whole factory pot, everything, and bust out the whole the teapot, everything is mashed up right now. You know, this has opened up a whole can of worms. And I mean, in terms of the title, and then we're going to go back because we've had some comments. In terms of the title, when you have a monarch, so for instance, Harry is Prince Harry. If a monarch has a grandchild, they automatically get the title of prince and they automatically get security. So here's how this works. When Meghan was pregnant with Archie, they didn't know what she was having, boy or girl. But what they decided to do was to change the law so that Archie would not get the title. Now, bear in mind, all of the children, Eugenia, all of those grandchildren, they've all got titles. But Archie is a great-grandchild, right? Here's where the difference is. And so when we go to Kate and William, when they had their children, the Queen changed the law to give their children the status of prince and princess, right? Because she's still in power, it's her great-grandchildren, so she had to change this because it wasn't set up that way. She's the longest serving monarch ever, right? So, but then she's changed the law again for Archie. Why would you do that? Which means that when Charles becomes king, Archie does not get a title. He does not get security, because that's what it means. So as soon, he wouldn't have the title now, but as soon as the Queen either dies or abdicates, flees her throne and gives it to Charles, then automatically those children coming after would have the legal right to be prince, princess, and also have that security, also have the financial assets that a normal prince and princess would have. So this is why there's a question. So I really wanted to make that clear so everybody knows exactly what Meghan is talking about. She's not just coming out and saying, oh, it's, you know, he doesn't get a title, she doesn't get a title. It's actually how this works, how it's worked for centuries. This is how it's worked. And now, since Meghan was pregnant with Archie, it has since changed. Why would they do that? And there has been no discussion as to why that has been changed. So we can only assume it's because she carries blackness in her blood, and they do not want that as part of the monarchy. I'm just saying, I could be totally wrong. Let me cover myself before they'll come try to shoot me down, right? I'm just giving you the facts of how it is and how this thing works, right? So Meghan, rightly so, wants to know why. And on top of that, one of the senior members of the royal family have said, how dark, you know, what is going to be the colour of the skin So we know, and they've also said it wasn't the Queen and it wasn't her husband who made the statement. So that only leaves the brother, Prince William, Kate, the father, Prince Charles, and Camilla. It only leaves them. So it's one of them that has said it, because all the other royals, Princess Anne, Andrew, all of, you don't see them. They're not in it. They're irrelevant. So it's down to those 4 people. We can hazard a guess. And also what comes to the fact is the fact that Harry has said his dad stopped taking his phone calls. I'm going to let someone else come in. I'm just giving you the facts here. The father stopped taking. Imagine. Could you imagine? You raise up your child, you watch the child, 12 years old, walking behind his mother's coffin. You're there walking behind, knowing that you had a part to play. I'm not saying that Charles was the one who done it, but we all know that he made Lady Diana, Princess Diana, very unhappy till she run where? To Dodie. Right? So let's call a spade a spade. Let's rake up the history, because it's like in these conversations we're not getting the full thing, and we've only stopped at Diana, but I want to go past Diana. There's more to this. Water more than flour, as me like to say. Lolly, come in.
I think it's disgusting.
What part of it is disgusting for you?
All of it. Like, you're asking for help because you're not dealing with a situation, your mental health. Yeah, that's understandable. You know, you've been shut away because you've got black in you. You're pregnant. You're asking about the color of a child's skin. Does it really matter? Don't you see people walking around with mixed race children? What's the problem? You know, I think that's really disgusting. And like Harry's dad not talking to him, that's his father. But then you have to question, is it his father?
Oh, Lord.
Do you know what I mean? I'm just saying, because like I was sent a picture today. I had a discussion with someone, a friend, the other day, and I thought, well, no, he looks like his mom and this, that, and the other. There is ginger in the family along the line, stuff like that. But then a picture was sent. I'm like, oh, okay, okay. You don't know. You know, that's another thing. You know, maybe that's why he's just trying to cut off ties with him, because he doesn't really. He might not. I don't know. Don't want people coming to me either. Might not belong to him. But, you know, I just think the whole thing, from when she got into that family, you know, I think it was a nice union. They suit each other. You can tell they love each other. And, you know, he's protective. He's not going to leave her. He doesn't want to leave her. And he says he's not going to leave her. You know, he's not going to just up and go and visit his grandmother on his own. He's concerned for their life. You can tell he's concerned for their life. And if anything happens, if he leaves Meghan, something might happen. He's concerned. You know, and it's just sad. It's just very sad. And that will
sad state of affairs.
That will cause mental health as well. It just continues, doesn't it? I'm glad that they're happy, and that they've. I mean, he's always been a bit of a rogue. It's a bit like his uncle Andrew, you know.
Well, is it his uncle? Anyway.
Or Margaret. It's a bit like Margaret. Do you know what I mean? Margaret did whatever she did whatever she wanted to do at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean? His dad, back in the day, did his thing. So, you know, it's all.
It's true.
It's all
a part of it. Thank you for that. Right. You brought up some real things. Yeah, I'm gonna, just before I bring anyone else, I'm just gonna go to some of the comments. We've got Carl Perkins says, totally unacceptable to discuss the skin colour of a child. I've never done it in my 53 years on this planet. Cecile Terrelong says, totally unacceptable. Would be disgusted. Taylor Shay is saying it shouldn't be a concern. The concern should be the health of the mother and child. Faye saying, of course it's a concern. They don't want a black prince. Carl saying, I've never heard a discussion about the skin colour shade of a baby in my family. And it goes on. From the day that Harry met Meghan and the banns were read, the agenda was set, said Pauline Young. I'm telling you, keep your comments fast and furious coming on here. I think it's safe to say that some of these comments have really offended us people from the melanin diaspora, may I call it, because it cover everybody. All right. Okay, so who else has got something to say? Destiny, do you want to come in?
Yeah, hi, good evening.
And then I'll bring in Sheena.
Hi,
hi, my darling.
Hi, yeah.
Yeah.
The interview, I tell you, it's raised a lot of concern relating to Meghan's mentality when she came into the institution. Do you realise she never called the family? She called it the institution. She never once said family. Never once. But her cry for help should have been, it should have been an alert to the institution to say, look, we need to help this young lady. And as she said, she wasn't given the support. She just wasn't. And to me, that is very, very disparaging. It's very disappointing. And when she was asked the question about making Kate, is it Kate cry? Kate cry?
Kate cry, yeah.
Yeah. She said, no, that's not how it went. It's not how it went at all. And I knew it wasn't her that did it. It was the other way around. And you can tell it was the other way around. And that poor young lady, she basically came into the family and she tried her best to integrate with them. And it just was not happening. It just wasn't happening. But I see the strength between herself and Harry. That tie will never be broken. No matter what anyone does, it will never be broken. But Harry has stood his ground, and give him props for standing with his wife. And as far as his father not taking his phone calls, well, that says it all. As far as I'm concerned, Prince Charles will never accept Meghan as much as he accepts Kate. And that's the truth. You can see the segregation there, point blank. It's just apparent. You can actually see the segregation. So for me, watching that interview really, really touched the heartstrings of not only what Diana went through, but you can see history repeating itself. As the royal biographer did say in the news afterwards, he said that that's going to continue for years to come. It's going to continue. So yeah.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that comment. Sheena, I want to bring you in before I go back to the comments, and then I'm going to add a little bit more of salt and pepper to the pot. Come in, Sheena.
Salt and pepper to the pot. I like that one. Yeah, I mean, everyone's just hit the pointers on here, to be honest with you. What was interesting as well, though, is when he said that the family were welcoming. They welcomed Meghan until the Australian tour and announcing their pregnancy. That's when everything changed. So maybe the fact that they were just married, they might have seen it as though it may not last or whatever the case may be before. But then when Meghan became pregnant, the whole story shifted, and just the fact that they could see the support and everything diminishing around them. So I've always said for myself that there's racism in the royal family, but more sickening is the fact that their security would have been removed. No namesake for their son either, no title.
Yeah, because they've stripped Harry as well.
Yeah, just stripped
They've
him.
stripped Harry and they've stripped
and Archie.
Archie was never given, and he wouldn't get a title until Charles becomes king. He won't get the title until then because he's a great grandchild, and the only reason why Kate and William's children have got it is because William is the direct heir to the throne. And we have to remember that Diana gave the heir and a spare, right? And that's how they see it. And Kate has done the same thing in Fine Style. She's created an heir and a spare and a daughter as well. So but one of the things that I wanted to throw out there in terms of, because it has been brought up about the parent of Harry, and there was a comment from Paulette Love that came up, because somebody, I think Carl Perkins said that James Hewitt is the father. But Paulette Love says James Hewitt didn't meet Diana until 1986. Harry was born, can we have that back up? Harry was born in 1984. So that is 2 years. So, 2 years before Hewitt came on the scene. Now, when I look, I mean, as it came up in conversation, because I know it's something that's thrown out there, none of us will know. Paternity tests have not been done, and as far as we know, and we can only go with what we know, Charles has always maintained Harry to be his son. Therefore, Harry's his son. He grazed him. He's financially helped him. He's been with him throughout all of this until now. So, and the reasons for Charles not talking to his son could well be that Harry actually had the balls to do what Charles wanted to do when he was younger, because Charles dated black women when he was younger. As a matter of fact, he wanted the 3 degrees to be at his wedding, and his mother said no. But we know that Charles is a pleaser. He likes to please his mummy. Yes, Charles is a soft one. I could call him the wash belly, even though he's not the wash belly, but he's like the wash belly child, the one that gets away and the mother just kind of oh, this one needs a little bit more attention. Charles is that child. So hence why she ain't giving up her throne. I tell you that for nothing. Our queen is going to die in office. She is not giving up that throne to Charles, because he can't maintain it, and she knows it, and the whole of the British public know it too. Most of the British public would just say, just give it to William, just bypass him, because he doesn't have the gumption. He doesn't have it in it. I just have to up my opinion. In my opinion, he doesn't have it. So, so in terms of who is the father, right about now, it's not relevant. What's relevant is the fact that Charles is not talking to his child for whatever reason, and that could just be because Harry dared to go against the grain, because you don't go against the grain of an institution like that. Carl Perkins is saying give the throne to Harry. Michelle, come in. I think everybody's talking. Yeah, come in, Michelle.
I think one of the points that is a little bit bigger than this whole shenanigans right now is that as the British public, we are not taught our history very well. And perhaps if we were taught our history a bit better, there wouldn't have been all this fuss, because I think a lot of people that I know were born in Queen Charlotte's Hospital in Shepherd's Bush. And they don't know that that hospital is named after a queen that was of mixed heritage. We've already had a whole queen in the royal family. So if people knew that more widely before Bridgerton, and they weren't surprised by the casting of Bridgerton, maybe they wouldn't have been so fussy about Meghan being of mixed heritage and marrying someone that is very unlikely to become king. We've already had a queen. But because of the way that our history or the history of Britain has been manipulated, people don't know. She's not the first. It shouldn't really be a big deal. But when people look at the portraits of Queen Charlotte, they've been, as we would call these days, bleached. They've been lightened. She's been made to look a little bit less exotic, as they might say, not as we might say. So maybe we need to know our history, and then we wouldn't have so many problems. We only put the nice side or the idealized side, and this is what ends up with the kind of problems that we're having now, because they really shouldn't be going through that in this day and age. It's a bunch of nonsense now.
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree. I'm going to throw something out there, though. Was Queen Charlotte adopted into the royal family? Just throwing that question out. If anyone could come back and answer that, I'd be most happy that. Yes, and Prince William's daughter is called Charlotte. Yeah, but I'm sure she wasn't named after that Charlotte. Anyway, let's move on. Let's move on. Anyway, one of the points I also wanted to bring up in my thoughts about this is this whole thing about the monarchy. It's not new, and I've heard a lot of people talk about Diana and how this affected Diana, and history is repeating itself. But actually, it goes further back than Diana. I want to bring in King Edward, who abdicated from the throne, who fell in love with Mrs. Simpson, an American divorcee. There are so many similarities between, and an actress. There's so many similarities between Meghan and this Mrs. Simpson. The only one difference is that Meghan is black, or she's of black heritage. She's got black in her bones. Her mother is black. She come from a black womb. Let me say it that way. She come from a black womb, so she can't be much blacker than that, because she actually comes from the womb of a black woman. Anyway, right, so now we know that he abdicated from his throne because he loved this woman. Harry's doing the same thing. He's taken a seat away from the royal duties and all of that. However, in my research, what I found out is that King Edward, even though he abdicated, he was, 1, given an allowance, 2, had security until the day he died. Yeah, his brother put that in place. When his father died, the Queen carried that on and even had conversations with him because he asked for more of an allowance, and she granted it. That's one. Second of all, when he died before his wife, Mrs. Simpson. When he died, the Queen then gave her an allowance to live on. So when we are talking about Meghan and Harry, I want us to see the whole picture here, right? The whole thing, and not just, because when you listen to people like Piers and you listen to daytime TV, you don't always get the full facts. And so what I'm saying is if this is a man who abdicated, the Queen wasn't happy that he abdicated, and neither was her dad, because the Queen's dad was the spare. Let's be clear of this. He was the spare. Then the brother abdicated, said, you know what, take it. And through that, the Queen's father died at an early age, right? He died quite young. Therefore, the Queen, who never thought she would be the ruler of this country, then had to step in and take up the monarchy and carry the crown for all of these years that she's done, over decades and decades and decades. But he was still honoured. He was still given a wage. He was still able to live. All of this stuff that we see going on didn't happen for him. So for me, it begs the question, when they're saying they're stripping them of everything, they've taken away the money. Harry quite clearly said in his interview, if it wasn't for the money that his mother left him, he would not be able to pay for security. Let me just stress back a little bit more. When they went to America, who was it that helped them out? It was Tyler Perry. Hello. Tyler Perry gave them their house and he paid for security for over 3 months. A black man who was homeless. That's who helped them out. So for me, you see the monarchy here, the crown, this thing here we are talking about, they should feel ashamed of themselves because they're not giving us any other option but to believe that this is race related, because there's no other reason why. I'm just saying. So I can see Destiny nodding her head. You know, Destiny, do you want to come in?
Yeah, the institution, thanks, Yvonne. The institution have just shut her down, literally. They've just shut them down. You know, they've just said, no, this is how it's got to run. This is how it's got to be. We don't want to hear anything more. Get on with it. If you want to go, go. And that's it, you know. But Tyler Perry giving them somewhere to live, giving them a roof over their head. He was their savior. He came and saved them. Yeah. And all the press and the tabloids and everything else who wanted to banish their name and wanted to do all kinds of things to them. And, you know, it's not on. It wasn't on. And I'm sorry, it's not on. And there's a lot of subtle racism going on behind the scenes, the tabloids, everything. You know, Prince Harry was adamant that he did not want history repeating itself. And that's it. He didn't want it. He could see it happening. He wanted to protect his wife and his son and now his unborn child. So it's painful for him to actually see his wife suffer like that, but he had to say something. He had to do something. And it was not all about Meghan, you know, stepping up and telling Harry what to do. They are one, as far as I'm concerned. So he had to basically step up as a son, step up as a father, a husband, and as he said, now as a father. So he had to do it. He had to step up.
Thank you for that, Destiny. Thank you so much. Kels, are you here? Or are you frozen? I think you've frozen. Cecile Terrelong says, Queen Charlotte became Queen Consort through marriage. She married King George III. After he died, she was queen until she died. Thank you very much for that information, Cecile. Thank you very much. Lolly, come in.
Yeah, it also said she passed on her mixed race heritage to her granddaughter, Queen Victoria, and to Britain's present day monarch, Queen Elizabeth II. But they're saying some scholars in England dismissed the evidence as weak and beside the point.
Okay.
So she was the her granddaughter was Queen Victoria, so it wasn't Queen Victoria adopting her, it was the other way around. So
okay, thank you for that. Thank you for that information. If you're just joining us, this is the After Dark show. It's an extra show this week. We don't normally come here on a Monday, but we felt that we had to come and we had to talk about this issue of relationship between the royals. Yes, because listen, if the head is sick, the whole body's sick, you know. I just have to say that. If the head is sick, and she is the head. So what chance do we have of our relationships working if the head is sick like that? But listen, we have to take responsibility, and this is what I feel needs to happen. Okay, and Louis Stevenson says, I understand that it's always two sides of a story. However, sadly, nothing Meghan had to say surprised me. I feel so sad for the both of them. Mental health is not accepted in the royal family. Wasn't one of the Queen's cousins banished to an institution due to her mental health? Boom. Oh, yeah. Can we find out who that was? What was the name? This is a bit of a history lesson as well. It was starting to be the Diana syndrome once the firm institution saw how well Meghan's humility shone through and was respected, accepted by the Australian and other Commonwealth countries. Remember the word Commonwealth. We have to touch on that as well, the Commonwealth. Okay. How dare a black woman be so articulate? I respect Harry for putting his family first. Thank you for that comment. Thank you for that comment. All the comments coming in. I want to thank everybody for the comments that are coming in this evening. I just want to come in, Michelle.
Yeah, you could say there's two sides to every story, but you could also say there's three sides, couldn't you?
Yeah, there are three.
One side, the other side, and the truth.
Yes.
But my thing is, first of all, somebody mentioned this earlier. Meghan talked about the institution. She talked about the firm. Whereas when Harry came in, he talked about the family. Which was it was slightly different.
Mm-hmm.
So she was looking at the machinery, and he was looking at his family, his relatives. So it was where the support she was trying to find, and the support he was trying to find was slightly different from what I could gather from what they said. But what I don't quite understand, and I would be mindful if I was Meghan. She said she didn't research him, but well, I don't know about that. I'm sure people would have let her know about his ways when he was younger, and the things that he did, and the dress up that he did. I'm sure people would have let her know.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, people might say that he was young, but he was part of that machinery. And is somebody telling me that nobody advised him against dressing up in that Nazi outfit? Nobody advised him against that? What does that speak to? So were they trying to make him look like the wayward one, in the same way that they had Charles and Andrew? Andrew was the wayward one, lots of women, Ku Stark and all this kind of thing. Is that what they were trying to do? And obviously he's grown up and he's understood that that was not appropriate, and he's now married somebody that definitely wouldn't be appropriate with. But we have to look at how the machinery that he says he was tracked by was working from before he was born, because certain things were allowed to happen, it seems to me, to him and to Meghan.
Yeah, I think you got a good point there. I think when they were talking about the machinery and the institution, I think they were definitely coming from two different sides of the coin. You know, I don't think that Meghan, from how she talks, ever felt that she was part of it, part of the family. Even though when she said when she heard that the Duke of Edinburgh was taken into hospital and was sick, she immediately called the Queen and, you know, just checking in kind of thing. I think she tried, maybe. I wasn't there and I was not a fly on the wall, but this is assumption, right? That perhaps she did. You know, she tried to do the right thing. You would, you know, look, we've all been in relationships, right? And when you're going to meet the mother-in-law, right? Because the Queen is like the mother-in-law. She's the grandmother, but she's the mother-in-law because there is no mother-in-law. She is the matriarch, right? So we know what that feels like when you're on your P's and Q's. You want to impress. You want them to like you because you want to be with their son or their grandson. You want it to be smooth sailing. Now, we already know that the Queen favoured Fergie. We know this, don't we, panel? Do we know this? Look, I'm not a royalist. I sound like a royalist because I know a lot about the royal family. But the Queen favoured Fergie. She loved Fergie, but Fergie was too loud, right? And not as popular. Diana was too popular with the public. And that is the same with Meghan. She was becoming too popular and fitting in because she did the job well. When you look at her on that tour in Australia and how she presented, and she did well, right? And the royal family have an issue when the woman is spoken about more than the heir. And this is what was happening again. So, you know, Meghan was fighting a losing battle as far as I'm concerned. I think, you know, there's been a lot of issues within the whole establishment. But for me, I have to go back to the suicide. I have to go back to this, those thoughts, those suicidal thoughts, and how she was dealt with, because I believe that they treated that woman worse than they treat the dog. Them have the dog on the horse and all of them thing there, because they would get what they need, and she didn't get the support. So out of everything, out of the whole conversation of, you know, the family not having the money and all of that stuff, for me, what stands out is the fact she declared, my mental health is being affected. I need help, and no help was there. Carol Lorraine, I see your hand up.
I've totally forgotten what you said before, but anyway, the mental health issue, like, she wanted help. She said she went for help and it didn't help her. But then I think when Harry said something, he said he felt embarrassed to mention anything.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what was going on there. But at the same time, why didn't he seek help for her? Why didn't he not, you know, he has worked, he's got money. Why did he not, you know, just call someone in to deal with her mental state at the end of the day? You know, you've got that power to do that. What's wrong with hiring someone, a doctor or a therapist, to come in and see her? You know, you vet that therapist, you bring them in, you know, you and get her some help. Why couldn't he do that straight away? Do you know what I mean? You don't have to really go. That's your wife.
Does anyone else want to come in to answer that question?
I think that would have been a hard one still, because the royal family, I suppose they don't deal with things like this. They've never had to deal with a woman of colour coming into the monarch. They've never had to deal with mental health in that respect. Hell, I mean, look at Diana when she called out for help. You know, she wasn't a popular member of the family. So therefore, it's like, you cry for help and you're not a popular member of the family. Clearly, their ways, you ain't going to get no help. It's disgusting behaviour.
Yeah, it is.
And
I mean, look,
for Harry though, you know, would he have not? I mean, I can only imagine he was frightened for his wife and he was scared and he didn't know what to do at the time. And then when he tried to approach and speak to somebody, he was getting nowhere. You know, imagine. So maybe that's why Meghan refers to it as the institution, because she's detached herself from that now because of how they made her feel. And I'm sure we would have felt the same way as well. And for Harry, he's referring to them as his family because that's all he's known. Do you understand? So now he's coming to another world where he's got his own family and his experiences are different. And now he's seeing things for the first time, how clear they are. What's bad as well is the fact that Charles, this person that goes around waving and smiling and looking, you know, all professional and attentive to the crowd and that, for him to not speak to his son, he rejected his son. You know, Meghan even went on to say things like, you know, she didn't see her passport and driver's license. That was all turned in. You ain't getting my driving license and my passport. Please. It ain't yours.
Exactly.
It's staying with me, right? And we're gonna have to argue about that one, queen or no queen. But you know, never saw it again until, you know, obviously when they left, and then it was given back to them. Now, if that's not control, I don't know what control is. So it sounds like an institution. And
but the thing is, Gina, as well, that they don't even get their part. It looks like they don't even get their passport and driving license unless they're able to leave the country and do tours. So that's just like prison or something. That's just it's not
an
right.
institution. That's why Meghan called it an institution.
An institution, right? So I'm going to bring in Michelle. She's had her hand up, and then I'm going to bring this back in. There's been some comments on here as well. Michelle, come in, and then I'm going to read out some more of the comments that we've got.
So before she got to the point where her mental health was so in such a state that she felt that suicidal, what happened to a little bit of sisterhood? She was not the first one in recent times to go into that family. We had Kate, we had Sophie Wessex, we had Camilla, and the British public did give Camilla a bit of a hard time because of how they felt about Diana. So knowing what they knew about going into that family, none of them sat down with her and said, well, girl, this is how it's going to be. This is how we can help you. None of that happened. So why didn't they give her some support? Because she doesn't talk about any support from Camilla. They talk about the fact that they are estranged. Harry and Prince Charles are estranged, and Prince Charles knows what it's like to be denied the one that you love, and have to wait until Diana died and spend a little bit of time before he could marry the one he loved. And even if we're talking about racism, can we really say that Charles was racist? I don't know, because like we know, he was well interested in the 3 degrees. A lot of us are old enough to remember. Sheila Ferguson was on the scene, you know. Yes. I believe. So what happened to sisterhood? What happened to Kate? Kate was the one apparently that made her cry and did not set the record straight. Also, with the tour, the Australian tour, maybe it was Kate, possibly. I don't know. Nobody come for me either. I don't know. Maybe she felt that she was going to be probably the queen, you know, at some point, being married to William. And maybe she didn't feel as well received as she sees Meghan being received. So she didn't offer her sisterhood within the firm, within the family. And that to me speaks volumes. There's lots of them. There's all Beatrice, Eugenie, they seem to be vexed about whether or not their wedding was going to be televised. And then you've got Sarah Phillips and all of those younger ones.
Okay, Phillips, yeah.
So where was the sisterhood? None.
The only person that Meghan, well, she does mention Eugenie, and she mentions Fergie as being a person to give her advice. I've seen another interview, and she does mention, I think she tried her hardest not to mention any names in this particular interview, but previous interviews before she does mention Fergie. But we know that Fergie was an outcast anyway. But she does now. Sophie, we don't see from the time Sophie married Edward, the younger one. We don't see her. They're not senior royals. They're the back of bush ones. We don't see them or hear them or know anything about them. Camilla she's only a senior royal when it comes to the big things like the weddings. You don't really see Camilla do much, you know. And people are still they do that so that when Charles does become king, people be more acceptant of her. They're kind of keeping her in a low profile. Meghan came in like a rushing wind. There was a significant difference with Meghan when she came on the scene. And we have to remember that this is what happened with Diana. It's this thing is a lot bigger than what we see. Kate, who is Kate? Really? And I'm not being disrespectful to Kate. I'm just asking, what has Kate done other than be William's girlfriend? Nothing.
Kate needs
the mother. Sorry.
She
needs some harder bread and some dumpling. And
she
needs to put carbs, mate. Carbs. That's what she needs, carbs. But Kate might be a lovely lady. She might be. And she's the mother of the heirs to the throne. And so we give her respect for that. But Meghan had a career. Meghan was she's a speaker for the United Nations. Meghan has done all of these great things prior to Harry. She was already doing stuff for the UN. She was already a spokeswoman for women. She was already doing, so she came in as somebody of prestige. She's educated and she's black. My God, why are we going to accept this woman? You know, we already have the angry black woman syndrome as well. So why would right? So why would I got you, Destiny? Why would anything else? Why would it be anything else? Meghan comes with other things. All the other royals, Kate will get the limelight because it's William's wife, but nobody talks about Kate when William's there. It's William. But what happened with Diana, I don't know if you saw the tour when was it India or was it Australia that they went to, where everybody was like, Diana, 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 and they were just pushing Charles away. No one was interested in Charles. That happened. That's a fact. That's a fact. And the same thing happens with Harry. Meghan. Yeah, they're cool for Harry, but not as much as Meghan. Meghan. They can see the outsider's more popular than the person who's supposed to be. That can't work. That can't work. So these are the things that we have to, to look at as to why. These women, why is it these women? It's so funny now because we've got a panel full of women, but why is it? Why is it that it's the women who give so much trouble to the royal family? Supposedly trouble, and I say trouble why is it the women? It's because we're powerful. Come, Destiny, quick, because I know you said something about your battery. Go on, you're on mute.
Oh yeah, that's right, because Meghan has been overshadowing Kate from day one. That is the thing. She's overshadowed her, and the British public and the institution could see that, and they had to shut her down. Okay. And remember when she had the interview with Oprah and they were at the house and she said, remember the princess lost her voice? And it does happen that the princess regains her voice. So therefore, now they've gone away from the UK.
The Little
They've
Mermaid.
got her voice. She's got, the mermaid, that's it. She's got her voice now. But the institution, as I said in the beginning, they shut her down, took away her passport, her keys, her identity. They kept that until such time. And then until you can have that now, you can go your way.
Yeah.
So for me, Meghan was shut down from day one.
Yeah.
She really looked up to the Queen because she said the Queen's like my grandmother. The Queen and myself have a very good relationship. Apart from that, there is no other relationship she's had within the institution. She hasn't. And it's so sad. Really, really sad. So, yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
Someone else have their hand up. Michelle, did you have your hand up?
No, but I was just going to remind you about the Commonwealth and that aspect.
Oh, thank you very much. Okay, so the Commonwealth was brought up. Now, I believe that I'm not sure what Yvonne was going to say.
She's got kicked out.
She's clicked out. So the Commonwealth then.
Mm-hmm.
In the interview, they said, "Oh, there she is." Well, there you go.
There you go. Thank you, darling. Yeah, my camera went off. I don't know what's going on. In the interview, he said that his wife was an asset to the royal family. This is words from Harry. He said she was an asset, especially in terms of the Commonwealth. The reason why they went to Canada was because it was part of the Commonwealth. And so when it was being screamed about racism and all of this stuff today and mentioned the Commonwealth, I had to say to myself, well, what was the Commonwealth based on? Because like I say, there are deeper issues here. And for me, one of the ways that the royal family would have made things a little bit right, not too right, but a little bit right, on their way to healing some of the stuff that has gone on in our history was to will pull Meghan in and really welcome her in, you know, and as a member of the Commonwealth, because we know historically that the UK, England had gone in and taken islands. Yeah? Jamaica, Barbados, all of these Caribbean islands were under British rule. Why? Because they went in and thief out, created slaves and all kinds of stuff from the Commonwealth. India, all of those countries were under British rule. Why? So for me now, when you start talking about the Commonwealth, this was the perfect opportunity to try to kind of make it right a little bit and really try to see the error of your ways. But to blatantly do this now is it, you know, I feel like, I mean, I've seen certain melanin people, because that's my new phrase. I'm not using black people anymore. We are melanin people. And to say that, oh, I've been in the palace and never seen racism. Let me just tell you this one thing. Simeon come live with me is two different things. Yeah, because all of you on the panel, people who are listening on Facebook and YouTube and all of that, can say, oh yeah, I know Yvonne Michelle. But let me tell you something. You don't know me until you live with me. Because what you see of me is only what you see. If you come to my house and I offer you a cup of tea, I'm always going to show you that gracefulness. I'm always going to be hospitable to you. But you don't know how I stay when my door's closed. You don't know what goes on behind my door. You don't. So you can't say you know me till you come and live with me. That's why all the time people say, Simeon, come live with me. It's two different things. So I want us to understand, yes, okay, so we're saying all these things about Meghan. Meghan could be a bitch behind closed doors. We don't know, right? She could be. But the chances are that she's not. Shall I tell you why? Because she's the minority in the majority. They are the majority. She's the minority in that yard. So I just want us to, you know, so in terms of the Commonwealth, that was my statement, because I just think, you know what? The royalists just need to stop talking about the Commonwealth, because you're not helping yourself. Me as a black woman, and I'm going to say this, actually it was a statement from my daughter, I'm going to say this. She said, Mum, I don't feel like this is my home. But I don't have a home. She goes, because we weren't born in the Caribbean. We don't know that. I've been to the Caribbean. She's been to the Caribbean a couple times, but she doesn't know the Caribbean like that. This is home. And she said, they don't want us here. She listened to that interview. She listened to Piers. She looked on Twitter. She's looked on Facebook, and she's seen people, Caucasian people, white people, right, who would be classed as friends with these comments. And she said, I don't feel like I belong here. Where do I belong? So for me, the bigger issue in all of this is for us as melanin people. Where do we fit in? Where do we really fit? Can we really call this home? Really? There are wider issues to all of this, and we're going to be on for maybe another 10 minutes or so. There are wider issues in all of this, and I want us to really think about this, not because I'm posing the question, but because this is what's happening as a matter of fact. And that's a younger person in her early 20s, just turned 20, and that was the comment that she had, which made my heart sink. My heart sank to my belly. Yes, darling.
Sorry to cut you.
Sorry. It's okay.
I can understand how your daughter feels. Mm-hmm. And I was born here, mm-hmm. and I decided as an adult to go and live in the Caribbean, mm-hmm. and make my life there. But just as you might feel that even though you're born here, raised here, gone through all the institutions of school here, and you don't feel that you belong here, mm-hmm. when you go over there,
you don't belong there either. No,
you're seen as English, and that's how you're referred to.
Yeah.
So you almost feel like, well, maybe they should make some sort of false island somewhere out in the sea for us, because
Yeah.
no matter where you are, you're not 100% accepted. And that obviously is not to say that here you can't live a good life, and in the Caribbean you can't live a good life. You can, but you are always reminded of the fact that you're not quite one of us. There's no sense of belonging. And I think that when our parents came many years ago and didn't expect to stay here this long, they would never have foreseen this legacy that we now have, where we are almost stateless. And so, therefore, we need to claim our space. And hopefully, with things that have happened, if the momentum continues, we continue to claim our space and make it bigger so that we feel more comfortable, because we have rights in many places and we also need to collect as many passports as we can.
Yeah.
So let's make sure that not only have your British passport, but you also have the passport of your heritage, because we have that right that many people don't, and we have to use it to our advantage.
Right.
Good words of wisdom. Thank you, Michelle. Yeah, and you're right. And that's exactly what you said. She don't belong in Jamaica. She don't belong here. Neither do I. As much as I travel. So we have to claim. I loved when you said that, claim our space. Claim our space.
Right.
Whose hand was up? Carol Lorraine, was your hand up?
No.
Anybody had their hand up? I don't want to miss out anybody. Let me just go to a few more comments and then we're going to come down and close. We're going to close. Like, everybody's internet is just bouncing out this evening. Let me just make sure. Right. So, Kels is saying there are a lot of horrific history in the royal family. We just don't have the time. Well, we need to make the time. We need to make the time. But you know what, ladies here, and ladies and gentlemen listening, listen, we know that Meghan has had a hard time from what she's saying. And Harry's also had a hard time. But in all of this, for me, there was something that I wrote down. For me, this is not about, it's about family, and it's about being human as well, right? One of the things that I understand is that the Queen puts duty first, right? And that's just how she is, how she's raised. She puts duty first and family second, whereas Harry is coming from a different era. He's coming from an era where family comes first and duty comes second. He is a chip off the old block, like his mother. But I would also like to say about them is that I realised from the conversations that I saw today on social media, and even hearing peers and all of that, I realised that everybody in this wants to be right. The palace wants to be right, and Harry and Meghan want to be right. But this is a matter of it's a humanitarian thing, this, for me. And it's about having compassion, and it's about, having that conversation about family and making allowances and acceptance for one another. I think that, how the palace have reacted, the breakdown in the relationship, the breakdown in communication has been the cause of this all. And there has to be some kind of way back, some kind of reunion for that, because this thing here could effectively remove the monarchy once and for all. I think it could do. I think this could split the country. I think that, you're going to have this argument of, black versus white. What I don't want to see is this, because
We've got
She's
gremlins
frozen.
tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what to say there, but I'll say I don't think it will split this country, the family. I don't think it will. They survived Queen Charlotte. They're going to survive Meghan. They're going to carry on. I
But
don't
she's saying
think
it's going to split. It's going to split the country. It's
the
gonna
country's
split,
already split,
divide.
though.
Well, that's true.
We've
That
just
is
had
true.
this whole thing about Black Lives Matters, and what difference has it made?
Exactly.
The country's already split, and
Yeah.
let's not forget that during the all this thing with Meghan and Harry and the baby, when the baby came along, Danny Baker put up a picture of a chimpanzee and claimed he didn't know what it was, and then
Yeah,
after
and
that,
I was shocked
they
as well.
fired
Danny
him.
Baker, a TV show presenter, children's TV show, coming up with that. I thought, wow.
Yeah, but the problem was not only that he did it, but he lost his job for a minute. He was back with the BBC. The BBC also allowed one of their presenters, their reporters, to use the N-word in the middle of the day. They haven't collapsed. The royal family is not going to collapse from this.
It's
She just
one
needs
rule
to
for
remember
one,
what
and
happened
it's
to
one rule for
Diana.
everybody else. Yeah,
Absolutely.
You know what the worst thing would be is that it doesn't happen to her, it happens to Harry. That would be the worst thing. It'd be even worse than her.
And they'll blame it on her.
And exactly.
Blame it on
exactly.
her.
Exactly. And that's where, I we just have to pray that Meghan will get the protection that they need. And rightly or wrongly, they're rubbing shoulders with the right people. Tyler Perry, Oprah Winfrey, these are people who are multimillionaires who can help. I know that Oprah is working with Harry on some mental health projects. They're going to be fine. They're going to be fine as long as they are left alone. But they're high profile. So this is where the issue is going to come in, at the high profile.
And they've set up their own business now as well, so
yeah. Well, they had to. But
it was also interesting, though. If we look at this thing, the irony of the whole thing, they're being. I'm going to give the other side briefly. They're being interviewed by Oprah, who was known to be a friend of Harry's uncle's friend that killed himself. I mean, really?
Jeffrey. What's his name? Jeffrey
Epstein.
Epstein. Yeah.
So we see pictures of her with Epstein, huggy and kissy. We've never heard her say anything about him, but yet still she's interviewing Harry, not mentioning his uncle, who she had a mutual friend with.
Friendship with, yeah.
Same
with Piers.
They would have had a conversation as well. They would have had a conversation before that interview, wouldn't they? To decide what they were going to discuss, what wouldn't be brought up.
Well,
Oprah's a very smart woman.
Oh yeah,
she's a very smart woman, and she knows who to rub shoulders with to keep her things quiet. You don't really hear much about Oprah. She's private. You
only hear what she wants you to hear. She's wise.
She only hears you only hear what she wants you to hear. Yeah.
She's wise. She's a wise woman. The Epstein thing, look, we touched on it before, but I think we've got to mention it before we close off this conversation. And that is that for me, you can cover and protect Andrew, but you can't cover and protect your grandson, whose mother is not here. You are his mother. You've been his mother since he was 12 years old.
Right.
Yeah, but when you said it yourself, he's a chip off the old block. What happened to the chip off the old block? God rest her soul. Yeah? They didn't care about her. So at the end of the day, it doesn't sound like they care much about Harry. It's like he said, he'll always love his dad, but there's going to be a lot of work to do there.
Yeah.
So that just tells me they're not good. They're not cool.
Well, you think
But
about
they
it.
do get on. She does get on. She does get on. He does get on with his grandmother though.
That's his grandmother, but it's important to have his dad's backing.
It
Yeah,
is, but you
because the
also
mum's not there.
mum's not there. But you also got to remember that we don't know why the relationship's not great. I mean, look, let's face it. We know that Prince Charles did not treat Princess Diana that well. It's all over. He's seen interviews. He would have seen and heard and read things from his mother that we are not privy to. So, he might be taking the stance of from his mother. You didn't treat my mum well, and if you treated her well, she might be alive now.
Mm.
You run her out because you had the woman that you're married to was always in your marriage. It's all over the newspapers. There was an interview where Diana said it several times. There was 3 of us in the marriage.
Yes.
Right. So, look, he's got 2 sons. 1 out of the 2 is gonna have a problem with him. They're both not, the other one, William might have a problem with him, but kind of like, okay, I'm just going to let that one go. But one of them have to have a problem with him. One of them has to.
Yeah.
It's human nature. It's human behaviour. One of them is going to be totally pissed off with how he treated their mother.
Yeah.
You got to think
maybe both of them.
Maybe both of them. Yeah, maybe.
But it is beautiful
William
to see.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, well, I was just... Go on.
Sorry. It's beautiful to see, regardless of all of this, it is just beautiful to see a man protecting his family in the way that he is and going to the ends of the earth for his wife and his child and his unborn child. And that in itself, regardless of who they are, it's a beautiful example. And may there be many, many more examples like that. And hopefully not in such awful circumstances. But that is a beautiful thing to see. You can see the love between them.
Yeah, definitely.
No matter what.
Definitely. The way that they look at each other, the touching of the hand, the body language. And this is because I'm an NLP master practitioner, so I study body language. And I sat there. That's one of the reasons why I sat and watched it a second time, just to watch their body language and their eye patterns. Let's see who's lying, who's telling the truth. Because, we're looking and we're just thinking, oh, people are talking, but your eyes say a lot.
Yeah.
And the thing with the mental health was true. She was telling the truth. There was nothing to suggest in her eye patterns that she was like. Most of what she was saying actually was the truth. When I say most of it, that makes it sound like some of it wasn't. But I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is what I was looking at and what I was watching for. Her eye patterns said to me that she was telling the truth. So it's a horrible thing that they've gone through. But, I'm thankful that they have each other. And I do hope that their love will carry them through because they're going to need it, because it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Right.
I'm glad that they're living in America. I hope that they're safe. And I'm also very, very, very glad that Harry had a mother like Diana who preempted, because she left him millions she left him. And the other brother would have that too, because I don't believe she left to one and not the other, because she loved her boys. And so because his mother did that, it's enabled him to live the life that he wants to live on his terms. And this is basically what this is about. You got 2 young people who want to live their lives the way they want to, the way that they choose to. If they could have lived it in the aristocracy, they would have. Harry said that. He would have stayed. But he could not live that life. He also mentioned that he didn't really know about unconscious bias until he met Meghan. The experience of being with a woman of colour taught him and has taught him some powerful life lessons. And guys, we can't dismiss that. We are here. We're 4 black women left on this panel. And we are resilient black or melanin women. That's what we are. I have to get that into a habit so it just rolls off my tongue. The melanin, it's got to come like a habit. And so I want to just encourage those who are listening, the men who are listening, the women who are listening, of color and not, because we may have Caucasian people on the chat. I want to encourage you to be your best. Be your best. Hold your head up high and walk proud of who you are. And don't make anyone, any institution, any person in this world make you feel less than who you are. You are you. And if you allow them to make you feel less, that's on you. And it's a hard one. I'm going to say it's on you. You got to rise above it. You got to dust yourself off and stand firm every single time, because there is none like you. You are a masterpiece. And I just want to encourage you to come and listen to tomorrow's show. It's happening at 10 p.m. tomorrow. The After Dark show that's happening 10 till midnight. Now, tomorrow's show is a International Women's Day. It's a special. We're having specials throughout the whole month, and we're kicking off with the hidden issues behind melanin relationships. A man speaks. So we are having Tony Crossbody from the What a Week show. He's a historian and a teacher. He's coming in to give us his views as to why melanin relationships are not working, or the issues that we have in them. Ladies and keyboard warriors, you need to be on your marks. Get set tomorrow. Get set. Because I do believe this young man is going to be hitting us with some truths that are going to challenge us, one and all. And this is the reason why I've done it specifically on this day. Because International Women's Day, we've always got the women. Oh, the women, and the women doing everything. We do everything anyway. Let me just say that. We do everything anyway. But one of the main questions I get asked is why single black women can't find men, and where are all the intelligent, forward-thinking men gone? Where are they? So we're bringing an intelligent man in, and he's going to challenge us tomorrow. It's going to be a peppery show tomorrow. I think we saw Shola and Piers at it today.
Can you just tell what was said, because I missed that part of the interview. I didn't see.
Yeah, I didn't see that. I've not
what
seen
was
it.
Shola put Pierce in his place, basically. She was saying, just how his attitude is and how he's always running down Meghan, and she was just talking about the bureaucracy of the royal family, and how the Queen, she said, what grandmother would do that to their grandchild? That's the way in which she came. And Pierce took it that she was running down the monarchy. How dare you talk about the Queen? I will not stand for you talking about the Queen. And she's like, well, it's the truth. We should be able to call the Queen out if we think she's doing wrong. And I think she's doing wrong. So I'm calling her out, basically.
Shame.
But the thing is with Shola is that Pierce, the whole of that show, he was shouting his point across. His co-host, I don't even know her name, the lady in green.
Susanna.
She didn't get a word in edgewise. Every time she opened her mouth, in mouth bigger than hers, and she just shut down.
Yeah,
and every time she opened her mouth,
it's always like that anyway.
She shut down. But when Shola came on, and he was shouting the odds, Shola just went rah rah rah. So he was like this, and she was like that. She's like, I'm not having it. Let me finish. Let me finish. That's all she said. Let me finish. Let me finish. And he's like, well, I want to answer. Can I? She goes, yeah, you can answer now. I finished. But she was, this is when I saw this, I said, oh, this is why they call us angry black women. This is why. Because when we have a point to prove and we have a bee in our bonnet, we ain't letting that go. You will not talk over me. You will not belittle me. You will not be that person. You got your little friend sitting next to you like a little puppet. That's not who I am. And I don't mean any disrespect to Suzanne, or whatever her name is, the lady in green. I don't mean any disrespect for her, because she came out with good points. But what I would like to see her do is fight for her voice. and tell Piers, be quiet. I am talking now. You've had your time. This is what she needs to do. Her voice needs to be heard. She's got great points, but she's just a little bit mousy for me. She
Our
needs to find her
strengths are
bark.
seen as a threat. Our
She needs,
strengths.
yeah. She, you know, she's an intelligent woman. Speak your point and just tell him, be quiet.
I don't understand her, you know, because I've seen her do journalism when she's done shows on her own without Pierce, okay?
Mhm.
And when she's speaking to other men on the shows, she seems fine. She can articulate well, she can speak. So to me, he's actually quite intimidating
She's, of
for her.
course.
He
You can see she's
intimidates her.
intimidated. You can see that.
And, you know, he does it to literally everyone who comes on. And how
Yeah.
he gets away with it to this day, how he's still allowed to be on ITV, be listened to. You haven't heard even some of the politicians, they won't go on the show. They
Shall I
refuse.
tell
They
you
won't answer
why?
the phone because of him.
Should I? I tell you why Pierce is there, because people watch him. That's why.
Yeah, I know.
And he's controversial. You can't be. You cannot be in the media game without being controversial. You've got to find your voice. You've got to say things that people might think but are not prepared to say. You have
But
to.
he's cutting with it at times though. He's cutting.
Yeah.
He can be so disrespectful, so rude. I mean,
He
don't get me
makes
wrong,
great.
there's other times when he's going for the politicians. I'm like, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, answer the question. Pierce asked you a question, answer the question, because I want to know. But when he has had this personal attack from day one with regards to Meghan,
Is it over
yeah,
163 times or something in a week or something? Somebody wrote, I saw it on Twitter, is it 163 times or something that he has, in a really small period of time, he has called Meghan out and been on Meghan when nothing's going
yeah,
on. Meghan.
yeah,
It's about 160 something
yeah.
times
Why? All
tweets
right, if
that
he's
he's
got, I
made
mean,
about her. Something, sir.
and the fact that she's married to a royal didn't seem to stop him. So
No.
he
Right.
not only he's got no respect for her as a woman. We already know that it's the fact that, you know, her skin might be a shade light, a shade darker, or whatever the case may be, but he has no respect for women, period. And that's shown with how he deals with Susanna on the show, or any woman that comes on his show,
He
right?
hasn't
But
got any respect for Harry either.
none. He's got no respect for Harry. I mean, he had something to say about Harry speaking to what's his name in the States? James. Is it James?
James Colden.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
jealousy.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Let me
yeah.
just put this one to bed right now. You see, if Meghan had called up Piers for that interview, he'd be her best friend.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Bottom
yeah,
line,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
it's
yeah.
jealousy,
Of
right?
course it is.
She's not batting her eye on him. Harry's not batting. James Cauldron, who's James Cauldron compared to Piers Morgan? He's a
Right.
I
serious
like James
journalist.
Cauldron.
But
He's
Piers is a
funny. He's
serious
good.
journalist. You got to look at it for what it is. You got to look at it for what it is. Piers is a jealous man and
Right.
cannot hide it because he's not getting what he wants. He's throwing his toys out the pram, and that's exactly what we saw. We saw him today in his 10-year-old self.
Has he got
Behave.
ADHD or something? On a
No,
real, I'm being deadly
no, I don't
serious.
know.
Something mentally is not right with Pierce?
No,
But
I
it's
don't.
not just journalists, is it? It's
No.
not just journalists. It's so many different institutions. Let's not forget that when they said that they were going to stand down or come back from public life, what was the first thing that happened? Madam Two Swords.
Yeah, took them down, didn't they?
Take them out, put her with the celebrities. That was a
Wow.
message
Disrespect.
in itself.
Yeah.
Really?
Disrespect.
Oh,
It's
God.
Disrespect.
disrespectful.
Yeah.
Disrespect.
They don't
Unnecessary.
respect her.
Yeah.
1, she's American. 2, she's divorced. 3, she's an actress. And 4, she's black. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
it. And she's
It's
in the
all
royal
Not
family.
necessarily in that
It's all
order.
Not necessarily in that
negatives.
order. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
so Pierce is just he's just like put flames under it because ever, it's just, you always hear him call Meghan's name. Leave the woman alone. What I would love to see now is for Piers to get sued, really and truly. Yeah, I said it.
Well, let's see what happens in the morning with that statement that we had from Mind, because they have put in something to
No.
ITV. I know that this has happened several times, that Piers has, been held up for what he says. But again, he brings in the numbers. I'm going to tell you as it is. And I'm not saying it makes it right, because I don't agree with it, but he brings in the numbers, rightly or wrongly. He brings in the numbers as an anchor, as a person, as a host of the show. It's probably the most rated morning show that we have in the UK right now. The numbers are high. Are they going to get rid of him? Who are they going to replace him with?
But they can't ask Ben to take over, because Ben's a bit dry, yeah.
Yeah, Ben's had his moment, but you know what?
Yeah,
They might
Ben's a
call
bit
Trevor
dry.
Noah. Let them call Trevor Noah from America. Come, Trevor, come and do
Innit?
it.
Bring him.
Yeah, he
Calm.
might do better than what he did in Coming to America.
Bring
But
him
there
calm.
you
I
go.
like Trevor. I like
There
Trevor.
you go.
I like Trevor.
There you
Trevor's
go.
all right, you know.
But yeah, we're not talking about how he looks though.
No. No.
Anyway, listen. We've just had a couple more messages, and Nadika says, your voices have been heard tonight, ladies. Well done. Let me wish you a happy International Women's Day. Happy International Women's Day. Happy International Women's Month. This is the month of the woman, as far as I'm concerned. It always has been, always will be. We have Mother's Day coming up on Sunday as well. So before we go, I'm just going to give another plug for tomorrow. The After Dark show is going to be an incredible show between the hours of 10 and midnight. So do join us here tomorrow night. And also do remember that on the 10th of April, the tickets are going to go live tomorrow. On the 10th of April, we have the After Dark first anniversary online party. Yes, we do. Full DJs, live entertainment. Yeah, it's going to be lovely. In the path of us having the After Dark retreat, which will happen in June. I'm just watching the dates of when things will open, if they open at all. Who knows? But that is what we're planning. We're planning an After Dark retreat. We found a lovely hotel that's got lots of things for us to do. Is it clay pigeon something? Shooting. Okay. Go-karting, loads of stuff.
Archery, any archery?
Nice.
Archery as well.
Yes.
We've got spa. Yes. It's got a spa, so for the ladies. And we're also going to be filming live from the event as well. The After Dark is coming with an exclusive on that Saturday. So the day of filming will change. It won't be on a Tuesday. It'll be on a Saturday, and it'll be all things good. So we have lots and lots of plans for the After Dark show. Loads of things in store. So that's it, guys. I want to thank you for jumping on. I do hope that, we've had a bit of a chat and a bit of a moan and putting the world to rights. My last full thoughts are with Meghan, and I do hope that the Queen does the right thing by her and her grandson. I do hope that she will protect them as she's protecting Andrew.
Yeah, right.
Did you hear the pause? Did you hear the pause there? Yeah. Janelle, let me just read one more thing. There's a comment here from Janelle. I have to get this one in. Hi, Janelle, how you doing? Dr. Shola buried Piers. How many times have we as women of colour had to do this in the workplace? The irony is I had to do this just today in a work meeting with a man trying to silence my voice. No. Thank you, Janelle. Good for you. Stay in your power. Well done. Well done. Well done. Well done. Thank you, my darling. All power to you. And women, this is our month. This is our day. This is our time. Let us lead in power and in force. We have come to take over. That's what we're doing. Yes. Yes. Melanin women to the rescue.
All right.
That's where we are. Listen, guys, have a great evening. Well, sleep well. And we'll be back tomorrow between the hours of 10 and midnight for the After Dark
We'll
show.
be back
But for
today.
now, is it? What time is it? Yeah, technically we'll be
today.
back today. We will
In a
be.
few hours.
In a few hours' time. But like I said, on your marks, get set. Keyboard
All
warriors
right.
at the ready.
Mm-hmm.
Good show.
Okay.
It's going to be a good show.
It's going to be good tomorrow. All right, guys. Mwah. Much love. Take care. And see you later.
Bye.
Ciao.
Okay. Bye. Bye.
Bye, bye, bye.
Bye.
You ready? You got me running, got me running. Take it.